get started and call the meeting of the Board of Public Works to order. As chair of the Board of Public Works, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. It was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are first providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or to the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-436-2866. The meeting ID is 932-4841-1694. And the password is 163524. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. Second, by providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. And they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the phone number mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please state why you are not physically present for the meeting, and also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So is Diane going to call the roll?
Yes.
Please, could you do that? Thank you.
Mayor Donchis?
I'm here and I'm social distancing pursuant to the governor's emergency order, and I'm alone in the room.
Commissioner Tease?
I'm present. I'm attending remotely because of the governor's order. I'm in my house in a room by myself, and I too have something to address at 7 o'clock. So I'm appreciative of an expeditious meeting today as well.
Commissioner Pappas?
I'm here. I'm at home in a room by myself. I am not physically present due to the pandemic and the governor's orders.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, present. I am here in my office by myself. No one else is here. I am attending remotely due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Commissioner Shoneman?
I'm here and I'm attending remotely due to the governor's emergency order, and I'm alone in this room in my house.
All members are present. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda as presented. Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Anybody have discussion or corrections? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Tease?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas?
Yes?
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the meeting. Could Commissioner T for the December 17th meeting, sorry.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of December 17, 2020.
Discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
Yes.
Commissioner Tease?
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes,
Mayor, I also want to point out that Alderman O'Brien is present.
I'm sorry, yes, Alderman O'Brien is present with us. He is the liaison for the Board of Public Works from the Board of Aldermen. Thank you, Alderman O'Brien, for joining us.
And thank you for the recognition. Thank you.
Alderman O'Brien was busy up in Concord trying to help us up at the legislature today, so I appreciate all of his efforts.
Thank you.
We approved, the motion passed approving the minutes. Next issue is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the Board of Public Works? All right, let's go on to aldermanic referrals. We have item A, R21-106. Commissioner Shoneman.
Item R21-106, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not exceeding the amount of $2,700,000 for various improvements to the solid waste department, Four Hills landfill, and the purchase of 2 refuse trucks.
And is that a motion to recommend the ordinance to the alderman? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Any discussion on that? Well, first of all, let's get we're going to hear from, is it,
Superintendent LaFleur.
it's Mr. LaFleur. I see Mr. LaFleur is here. Can you tell us about this?
Absolutely. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. The $2.7 million comprises of a landfill gas expansion FY21. It's going to be a 3-year contract or a multiple year contract at $1.2 million. I'm doing it this way because of the process it takes to get all these approvals done. It takes too long, and I want to get I want to be able to mitigate any emissions or odor problems immediately, as opposed to trying to wait and get on all of our approvals. It's just a long process. The solid waste equipment coverage would be a building to cover all my equipment at the landfill. As you know, all of our equipment's outside. This will be a portable system that I can set up, and if it needs to be moved, I'll be able to move it. The solid waste landfill scale replacement for $400,000. That's the scales at the landfill have been there since I've been there, well before I've been there. So it's over 25, 30 years long. I'm expecting a catastrophic event, with these scales. They're not made to last forever. So we're going to put this into fruition and get these moving. It probably won't happen right away. We're going to wait to see how the landfill is designed with the new DPW building coming on, but we will be doing it in the near future. I want to have those funds available that if there is an issue with the scales, I can do a quick repair to them. And then the last 2 would be the 2 refuse trucks that we're buying for $600,000.
All right, any questions, comments from the commissioners?
If nobody else has a question, if I can ask a couple of questions. So I looked through, and maybe I missed something, but I kept looking through. But normally, when are we going to get more specifics when you actually purchase this stuff? Because we normally we will get a breakdown of costs and that sort of thing. And for example, I know some of our trucks that we already have through prepaid a prepaid account, and we don't know what types of solid waste trucks that we're getting, whether they're just packers or whether they're the automatic ones. I noticed unless I was missing something in my packet, I didn't see the specifics here. Can someone address that?
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. Commissioner Pappas, we're just approving the bond right now, the approval to sell the bond. I'm not spending the monies yet. This is just to approve the bond. Once I do find out what trucks we're going to buy, it'll still go through the same process, I assume.
Do you have a sense as to which trucks you want to buy? I'm just curious, because if you have a certain amount, I mean, I would imagine that the automated trash trucks cost more than the Packers. Just because I was on, I've been on the board. I remember when most of our trucks were breaking down, and we did end up having a plan to go ahead and replace our trucks on a regular basis. So I just was interested into why we weren't specifying which type of trash trucks we're getting.
We are Commissioner Pappas, but this is just to approve the bond. We're not buying any trucks with this 600,000 until we go out to bid and we get the numbers and come through the BPW and through finance to do that. So this is just go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to
I think
interrupt. Go ahead.
you do know what trucks you're buying though, Jeff, right? This is,
We're buying a semi-automated truck, and I'm planning on purchasing another pack.
Okay, so the semi-automated are the ones that are either used for trash or recycling, and then
Yes.
the Packers. Okay, all right. That was my question. Thank you.
Now, this would, of course, be subject to Board of Public Works approval. Mr. LaFleur would have to come back with a specific proposal, which would need to be approved here. So this is just, a recommendation to the board that the money should be borrowed so that the Board of Public Works can decide what to do with it specifically. So you'll see this again, all these items again.
Can I ask one more quick question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, of course.
And it may be directed towards you. So, to that, it is great that we're not having trucks breaking down at the side of the road. I think at one point we even owned our own tow truck. But as someone who's been really paying attention through the years, one of the things I think would be interesting, maybe once a year or either once every other year, I would love to know which trucks we have in our planned accounts, and then which ones we bond. For example, I'm not sure if we bond all our trash trucks or if some of them are through SURF. It can get confusing because I thought most of our trucks are planned purchases, but I think to see a plan out for me would be, I would imagine, folks who, I don't know if it's the,
Definitely,
if
we could get a presentation on that. So there is definitely a SURF plan. SURF means Capital Equipment Reserve Fund, which
right.
some people listening may not. Capital Equipment Reserve Fund. And there is a schedule which, sets forth this year and in future years what we hope to purchase. And there'd be no problem in bringing in possibly David Fredette to go through the plan. And, it includes all the city vehicles beyond Public Works, but it also includes Public Works vehicles. He could go through the plan and, just show you the details.
Okay, and it'll give if all of our trucks from solid waste are how they're purchased. I just think that occasionally that kind of information I find helpful as a reminder. But thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
So the director will contact David Fredette, city treasurer, and sort of set that up. I mean, the basic rule is the more expensive trucks we've been bonding, meaning
Right.
Borrowing, but paying back over a short period of time, but still over a period of time.
Right. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
So maybe we can set that up for the next meeting. Any other comments or questions about the R21-106? All right, so the motion is to recommend passage to the Board of Aldermen. Diane, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is item B, R21-107. Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, I move for a favorable recommendation for R21-107, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $5,150,000 for the city's sewer infrastructure program.
Mr. Boucher?
Actually, city engineer Dan Hudson will be speaking to that this evening, Mayor.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is, we've talked about before, is the funding mechanism that we use to do our CCTV inspection of sewer mains and to do our lining and our pipe replacement. I've talked before about the benefits of doing that and the cost savings that we achieve by lining versus having to dig up pipes. I did want to kind of take a second here just to kind of reiterate the importance of this work. It's not just that we save money on replacing pipes, but it's that we're properly managing and funding our 400 plus miles of sewer main. That sewer main, is probably about $1 billion asset, and it's important that we continue to invest and keep that system up and working. If you want to think of the wastewater treatment plant kind of as the heart of the system, well, these pipes are the arteries carrying the 12 million gallons a day of sewage flow to the plant. And it's very important that we keep that in good operating shape. We have siphons that carry under the river. We have pipes along rivers. So any problems, major problems with those systems would be very detrimental to the city and run the risk of running us afoul of the many permits that we have with EPA and others. And this funding source does too cover emergency repairs for anything that we do come across. But thankfully, we have avoided those through this preventative maintenance, so to speak, that we do. So I just want to kind of touch on those things. What we are finding is about 30% of the pipes we look in, we find out that we need to line. And granted, we have focused our program to look at the pipes we expect to be in the worst shape. So, it's no surprise that we're finding a number of pipes that need to be lined. But we are finding a lot to be done. And this program has been very helpful in the fact that we can move straight from finding the problem to fixing the problem through doing the lining and avoiding that more costly repair. So it's what we feel has been a great program. It's doing what we need to do in terms of keeping the system operational, running it in a sustainable way. So we're looking to continue that with this bond request.
Any questions or comments?
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Pappas?
So 30% need lining. Now, my understanding is lining pipes is much cheaper than replacing them. Just I know that these are very expensive systems to run. So I don't know if you have off the top of your head, or you can answer this at another meeting. How much are we saving by lining the pipes as opposed to dealing with them by the time they break?
That's a great question. The multiplier, from what I've calculated, is about a 20 times multiplier. It's costing us on average about $50 a foot to line pipes. And that cost includes, both the cleaning and inspection of the pipe ahead of time, lining of the pipe, and then and inspecting post lining. So, you multiply that number by 20 and it's a much bigger number. So it's a big number that we're saving by doing that work to avoid having to do that more costly and much more disruptive repair. It's not just the cost. If you go dig up the middle of a major street, versus a truck, inserting a liner from one manhole to the next. I mean, that's a significant difference in disruption to the public. So it's a cost and it's a disruption factor that we're saving.
Right. I think that was a great explanation. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? 20 to 1 is a pretty good ratio.
It is.
Anyone else? Okay, let's call the roll on this motion, please.
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes?
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Motion passes. We're now on to the wastewater department, item A. Commissioner Tease.
Sure. I move to approve the contract with Mass Crane Corporation of Tingsboro, Massachusetts in an amount of $47,280 for replacing the dry well hoist in the raw sewage pump room at the Nashua Wastewater Treatment Facility. Funding will be through 160 wastewater fund worth account category 71 equipment.
Mr. Boucher.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So this motion is to replace a 3-ton hoist crane at the wastewater facility. The crane is beyond its useful life. It is currently, parts of it are inoperable. Because of its age, it's difficult to find parts for it to repair it. This crane is used for lifting our 200 horsepower pumps from our dry well. It's also used to disassemble our pumps for inspection and repairs. So we put it out to bid. Mass Crane was the low bidder. We've used Mass Crane to install hoist in our facility in the past. They currently do our inspection on our hoist and safety equipment. We've been very happy with their services, so we'd like to move forward with them doing the upgrade to our crane hoist.
Commissioners, anyone?
I don't know if this is directed towards Mr. Boucher or the director. I mean, we clearly see that this stuff is very expensive, and we know the corrosive nature of everything that's the process of managing wastewater and having that go through all the pipes. So I understand that this stuff has to be done, and I understand that we're under a consent decree order. If someone might explain what that is and what that means and what would happen if we kind of get tagged for stuff that we didn't keep up in the wastewater department.
We need to take a stab at that, Dave, or do you want to?
Yeah, well, I think this is separate from the consent decree, but and the importance of this is we do have to service all of our equipment in a timely fashion to maintain it because the equipment is required to stay running. It's important that we have equipment that helps us maintain this equipment. So and this equipment, because of its size, it can't be moved easily. It's just it's an important equipment we need operable in order to do our job. But yes, I guess in the grand scheme of things is the EPA, the state requires us to keep our equipment running. Or we could be fined if the equipment's not running, if any of it fails and causes a backup in the system, in which these pumps that this hoist is servicing, if they fail, the sewer will back up into the system and into the streets. Because these are the pumps that push the wastewater to a higher level in our facility to be treated. I don't know if that
Okay.
answers Commissioner Pappas.
Well, I understand that this isn't necessarily what we're under for consent decree order, but I think that wastewater is very expensive. But if someone can just explain what a consent decree order is, I think we're under it for something, and just to explain the consequences if we don't keep things running properly.
So many years ago, Commissioner Pappas, the city, this is probably going back 15 years, the city was forced to make a decision as to whether to either separate all of our collection system or develop some combined sewer overflows. And, the combined sewer overflows are basically holding tanks that only overflow in sort of extreme weather conditions, and hopefully we get to a point where we have minimal overflows. But of course, the city decided that we were going to do the combined sewer overflows, the CSO program. We've spent almost $100 million on our CSO program. We are in, and that was under the consent decree. We are close to the end of that now. We are in the testing phase, and we have our wet weather facility running. We just really need to test it at this point, which will probably happen in the spring when we start to have heavy rains again. And the hope is that we'll have sewer CSO overflows once now that wet weather is running to capacity. And then we will hopefully only have to separate maybe in areas where we're still having CSO overflows if we have any. So there are definitely some next steps, but until we fully test the system, our full collection system with wet weather running, we won't know what those next steps are. But I will certainly bring the board any new information that we have as we move forward.
Okay. This might be a stupid question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Oh, go ahead, please.
These projects, do they impact our wastewater fees?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think more on what the consent decree is. It's basically a court order that was entered by consent, but were the city to violate the consent decree, the EPA could seek administrative fines against the city. There's for each day of violation. So I think we're making the decision that it's a lot better to invest our money in trying to keep the equipment in good shape and keep the plant running properly than to pay fines to the federal government.
Right.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Thank you, everyone, for that clarification.
All right. Any other questions or thoughts about item A? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Teves,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
Motion passes. Now on to item B. Commissioner Shoneman.
Move to approve the contract with Woodard Curran to prepare plans and specifications for the Phase 2 pump station upgrades rebid in an amount not to exceed $42,500. Funding for this contract will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund SRF loan, activity pump station upgrades Phase 2.
You've heard the motion Mr. Boucher.
I can speak to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So we're just about complete phase 1 of the pump station upgrades. That's the first 6 pump station. So we're getting ready to put the second phase out to bid, hopefully in April, which will be 6 pump stations and 1 CSO site to upgrade those. And because we broke it out into 2 separate projects, we have to modify the plans, the original plans, before we can put it out to bid. It's a requirement by the state that the plans be stamped. And so we're utilizing the original design engineer for this project. We do have some revisions to make on the plans with the specifications and some things that we saw we needed that weren't on the original designs. So Woodard and Curran is the company is the original company we're utilizing for that. This is an SRF project, so that's why the state requires a certified stamp on the plans before we put it out to bid. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Commissioners? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Teves,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
yes,
Motion passes. Next, we're on to the engineering department. Item A, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
yes,
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Tease.
I move to approve the following poll license permits, PSNH number 21-1336, PSNH number 21-1555, PSNH number 21-1558, and PSNH number 21-1559.
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
yes,
Sorry to interrupt there. I thought the votes were over. Okay, everybody's voted. Motion passes. Next, item C, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve a drain layers license for Emergency Sewer and Drain Repair LLC of New Hampshire in accordance with Nashua City Code 25519, issuance of drain layers license.
Any questions or discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes,
Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve a drain layers license for Sequel Development and Management, Inc. of Nashua, New Hampshire, in accordance with Nashua City Code 255-19, issuance of drain layers license.
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
yes,
Motion passes. Now we're on to item E, Commissioner Tease.
Sure. I move to approve the hardship waiver request from Liberty Utilities to excavate in moratorium streets for grade 2 leak repairs through calendar year 2021.
And I think we're going to need an explanation on this from Mr. Hudson, I assume? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So last July, we brought forth a similar request and it was approved through the end of the calendar year. But what it does is it enables Liberty Utilities to make grade 2 gas leak repairs in moratorium streets without first coming to the board. These grade 2 leaks that are discovered need to be repaired within 6 months or the same calendar year as their discovery. They're not quite as severe as grade 1 leaks, which are emergencies, and they can go do those right away without even talking to us first. But what Liberty is asking again for this year is this approval in the interest of time, basically, so they don't, potentially have to wait a month or so for the approval to be able to go make these repairs. And then, we work with them, we permit it, and what we've established last year is reporting to the board monthly. So you have a full assessment of what repairs are made, but they're not coming forward with each individual approval request. So that's what the request is, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Commissioners? Commissioner
If I
Pappas?
may.
Yes, please.
So I'm just wondering, so I will tell you, given how much we've spent on paving, I think that, I don't know if I voted against this or not. But if we can at least have, if possible, a heads up the month in advance. I mean, a lot of it is just if people, if residents see their road getting cut into, I know that we're usually pretty good about identifying those and giving them. You guys are very good about giving it to us the month after. But if there's any way that we can let folks know the date, the month in advance, just so folks know to say why they're digging in my street when it's just been paved. Don't know if it's possible, just a suggestion.
Yeah, it's something that we can think about. If there's a different way we can provide the notification. I mean, oftentimes there's our public relations person, Lauren Byers, will tweet out that a repair is happening if we're aware of it, that sort of thing. But certainly if anybody calls with a question, we know what's going on out there. And then how we want to report the board on it, I guess, is the pleasure of the board. But, right now what we've been doing is, as I said, we've been summarizing the ones that happened the previous month. But anytime anybody has a question, they can reach out to us and we can tell them what's going on.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes, please.
Instead of tweets, is there any way, if any of us, I know I would be interested in getting an email when we have those in advance, just to have that information. I would certainly appreciate that rather than in the form of a tweet.
Okay, it's duly noted. We can take that under advisement and see what we can do.
All right, thanks a million.
I
All
would
right,
like to
anybody?
question.
Anybody else? Oh, Commissioner Schoeneman?
Yes, please. I know I've asked this before, but I guess I really don't grasp. If the city provides a list of streets being paved and Liberty goes in and inspects ahead of time for leaks on those streets, why are they going back and finding new leaks after the paving?
I don't pretend to fully understand the issues that revolve around gas mains, but all I can do is confirm that they are doing the pre-inspections, as you noted. Issues occur, and I'm not sure why all the time. I mean, there's freeze thaw things, and other things that occur. So I know last time when this was brought up, they did speak to that, and I guess we could go back and look at the minutes of that meeting, but yeah, things happen. I mean, I think it's unfortunate to have any of these situations, and we have water leaks occasionally. I think if we looked at the total number of miles we're paving and the number of these issues, it's a fairly low number, but still any of these issues is unfortunate. I don't know how we can completely avoid it. I mean, they are looking, and they're doing the best they can to repair any that they find, because the restoration requirements are significant. They don't want to go back and dig up and have to do a mill of the roadway and all that either. The restoration is prohibitive, and so they do everything they can to address the issue ahead of time. It's just sometimes things happen, and that's we just have to deal with it.
Yes, I see that. I think it's on Liberty to, I don't know what would be the explanation, do better inspections to find the leaks before the paving happens. I think I agree with Commissioner Pappas. It's wrong to go into these streets, 6, 7, 8 months after they've been paved. And, now we found a leak. Oops, we didn't find it 6 months ago when we inspected it. I think it's, I don't think that's professional. And I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers. And so I can't support this. I think they need to be brought to accountability to do a good job and to get the leaks repaired before the roads are paved. it's so expensive, and it's, like you said, it's a hassle for them to have to go back and dig again. So I can't see this as a good thing for the taxpayers.
Mr. Hudson, did you say that Liberty had come in the past to kind of talk about this situation?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's on tonight, but they did attend that meeting last July and address some of the questions that the board is raising. I mean, we did put this item as an annual approval so that each year the board has an opportunity to, revisit whether this process is working or not working or wants more answers, something like that. So that is why we bring this up annually. And I'm sure they would address that. I know they do look for leaks ahead of time and they find a number of them and fix all the ones that they find, but they do discover additional leaks occasionally afterwards. And I don't know if that's fully preventable.
Is it important that this pass tonight, or could it wait a month?
I'm not aware of any situation that they need to repair now, like they're pending this approval. So I believe it could wait if that was the board's pleasure.
Well, could you invite them to come to the next meeting? And if you wish, a motion to table would take precedence. So if Commissioner Shoneman, you'd like to table this and talk to Liberty before voting on it,
Yes,
we could do that.
I move to table this motion until the next meeting.
All right, and Mr. Hudson will ask Liberty to come in. Motion is to table. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say, oh, excuse me, we need to do a roll call. Please call the roll.
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease, Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty, Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes,
All right, motion passes and that item is tabled till next time. We're now on item F, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the engineering services contract for tasks required by the EPA MS4 permit with Hazen and Sawyer PC of Manchester, Massachusetts, in an amount of $187,550. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater, fund wastewater, activity stormwater abatement.
Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we've talked before about a number of permits we operate under. There is a permit that's called the Municipal Separated Storm Sewer System permit, or the MS4 permit, as most people refer to it. This is the permit that allows us to discharge stormwater to waterways. This permit requires a number of efforts, in the interest of stormwater quality. And those include things such as trying to remove illicit discharges from the stormwater, which is anything except rainfall. But it's an extensive permit that we need to comply with, and the effort to do that is fairly significant. This permit every year has different objectives that need to be met. The early permit years under this permit involved some mapping and other things, which we were largely well on the way of. But now we're getting into needing to do a lot of outfall sampling and things like that to find out where we have issues and then to work to address them. So this engineering company has helped us file our annual permit reports that we need to file, as well as stay in compliance. And this effort here will continue to do that.
Any discussion? Questions? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
yes,
Motion passes. Item G, Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. The motion is to accept as finally complete federal paving project Nashua 41049 paving Amherst Street, Somerset Parkway, Broad Street, and Kinsley Street.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a paving project. It was federally funded as noted, completed by Newport Construction. Involved work on Amherst Street, Somerset Parkway, Broad Street, Kinsley Street. Fairly extensive program. Paving was complete a couple years ago, but then this last year we needed to go back and do a bunch of ADA ramps. 38 ramps were done this year in the exit 6 and exit 7 area, making for safer crossings. But anyway, all that work's been complete. We've completed all our final checklists and are seeking our final reimbursement for the work. But what we require is, review and approval and acceptance basically of the work by this body. And with that, we'll be able to finalize the paperwork and close the project.
Questions, discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Dodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Mr. Pappas,
Yes.
Mr. Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
yes,
Motion passes. We're now on to item H, an informational item. Do you wish to speak to this, Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, as noted earlier on the other item, we report on the permits issued in moratorium streets. Emergency repairs don't require, permitting ahead of time, but those are listed. As you can see, there was a couple water leaks that Lieutenant Chuck had to deal with, and then there was a couple grade 1 gas leaks which Liberty had to deal with. So that's the summary for December for that work.
All right, thank you very much. We're now on to administration. 2 informational items. Director Photo.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as a DPW facility update, I did hear from Director Cummings that the sale of Burke Street has been postponed for 1 month. So it will be occurring at the end of February, and he is confident that that will happen. A deposit has been provided to the city. So I'll certainly update you next month again, but that's all I have for that. And then Diane, if you could pull up the director's
If I can
report.
ask a question,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Of course, sure.
Do we have a date?
We, I don't know the date. I've been told it's
Okay.
the end of February, Commissioner Pappas.
All
But
right.
as soon as I do know a date, I'll definitely let you know.
All right, thanks a million.
Sure.
Okay, now we're going to get the director's report.
Okay, the next, Diane. My first slide are the city's ice rinks. It's been a very challenging year due to the sustained warmer temperatures. But this past week has been cold enough to finally get the rinks up and running. On the left is Sergeant's Ave, the middle is Legacy Park near Port Fairgrounds Middle School, and on the right is Roby Park. Roby Park is the only park that we have the chiller, so that one's a little bit better, but the chiller is very old, so it doesn't work as efficiently as a new one would. We have started a gaming league, which is pretty exciting. It's online gaming and ranges in age from 8 to 40 years. And of course, it's broken down into appropriate age groups. We have 91 players registered. We were hoping for 40, and we have 91, so we were very pleased with that. At the end of the season, players will participate in a single elimination tournament to crown the championship. And all leagues will be played against local town players or other gamers from New Hampshire through our New Hampshire Recreation Department. This is just some sidewalk clearing. This is after the storm on December 16th. We, as a reminder, a few miles of sidewalk after each storm. This is a picture of an employee loading brine in our brine unit to apply brine to the streets before a storm. We did get some questions about applying brine for this last storm. It was actually too cold to apply brine, so that's why we didn't do that, and you saw us out using regular salt. The street department crews picked up Christmas trees this year between January 4th and the 15th, and then we chipped them at the landfill. The chips are used then for cover at the landfill. We said a very sad farewell to one of our Public Works family members, Andre Pelletier, who had been with the street department for 46 years. And we had a really nice parade for a final farewell past the Yankton Frechette funeral. Andre's family looked on. We will, and we do have a video of that we will show directly after my director's report. The solid waste department employees are repairing the wall near the residential trash dumpsters. That's always a challenge, keeping that wall in decent shape, but that has been repaired. We have advertised the 2021 household hazardous waste collection schedule, and it is available on our website and on Facebook, and also hard copies at the solid waste department. We want to remind everyone to please make sure that their trash barrels are clear of snow. We can't pick up toters that are buried in a snowbank or covered with snow. So please make sure that all barrels are dug out and cleaned off. The Foil Hills landfill will be closed on Monday, February 15th for President's Day. So curbside pickup will be, for all routes, will be delayed by 1 day that week. And that's it. Diane, could you show the video of the parade, please? So, although this was very sad, this was, and given the pandemic, this was just a really nice way for staff to be able to say goodbye to Andre in a safe manner. So, that's all I have for this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Photo. So we are on to commissioners' comments. I would like to say that the passing of Mr. Pelletier, Andre Pelletier, was a very sad event for Pelletier. He had worked for the city for 46 years. And if you go all the way back, that means he worked at the so-called barn that was on East Hollis Street. Then he moved over to Riverside Drive, did a lot of different jobs during the course of his tenure. And he was he was a good worker, well-liked by everyone, management, all of his employees. The idea of having the parade was a very good one. And I think the family did appreciate it. And of course, for them, our thoughts are with them, our prayers are with them, because it was a very sad passing. And it's a tragedy for them. And of course, COVID-19 struck home in this instance, which it can. And in this case, unfortunately, it did. So we all, I know, just give, our best, and our hearts are out to Andre's family. With that, any other commissioners have comments?
I did. Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Pappas.
No, it sounds like you see someone else. I'm going to have someone else go first.
Oh, I was just going to mention, we talked about this, Commissioner Pappas, that there is a GoFundMe page for Andre's family. His wife has some mobility issues, and so they have set up a GoFundMe, and he was her sole caretaker, and so they have set up a GoFundMe page. And I just wanted, in case anybody wanted to donate, I did want to just mention that.
Commissioner Pappas.
Where would one find that?
If, I don't have the exact, but if you just type in GoFundMe Andre Pelletier in his name, it will come up.
Okay. Andy or Andre?
Andre.
Okay. All right, because I know his family called him Andy. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anybody have comments?
Yes. Mayor.
Commissioner Moriarty.
First of all, I'd like to also say that was a very awesome parade and sign of support by the city. Very touching. I did want to mention also, though, something about the pension plan. That
Yes.
the employees of the works use. And Alderman O'Brien, please, step in if there's something you want to add. But I wanted to let the commissioners know that the current pension plan is not in compliance any longer with the IRS regulations. And so we will need to, make it in compliance. And so the trustees of the pension plan have moved to hire an attorney to that effect, since the city attorney said that it's out of their specialty to do that. So it looks like the cost may be somewhere in the range of about $20,000. So, I mean, that would come out of the pension plan that the employees contribute to. So the board is hoping that the city takes some responsibility for that $20,000 cost and help out, since it is quite a benefit to the city.
And the plan is 88% funded, right? Isn't it something like that?
Yes.
That's a very good job. Having testified today about the last couple of days about the state pension plan, which they allowed to go down to 50, now 60%. Trustees have done a very good job here in Nashua. Any other commissioners' comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Pappas.
So I fully agree that this was a terrible loss, and I would concur with Commissioner Moriarty. It was a really beautiful. It was a beautiful tribute to Mr. Pelletier. What I wanted to hit on, at our last meeting, right in December, we were presented with increases of, I want to say in the first 2 years, 30% of the wastewater fees. Now, I was sworn into this board, I want to say in November 2007, because I was filling in for someone. And I had always voted for the wastewater increases because we had more information than we were given at that last meeting. I did happen to watch the Personnel and Administrative Affairs Committee meetings regarding this. I kind of see it as part of my job. When I can, I really try to view the meetings that handle some of the public works issues. And I do recognize as mayor that you're covering a whole city. And that's part of what I like about being this board is it's just one division that we're taking a look over. But if nothing else, having been on the board for a long time, I've experienced some things. And I want to say circa 2007 to 2009, we almost ran out of money from, for normal. We didn't have enough money in reserve for this fund, and we did try to fix this by whether we had to have increases or not by having yearly reports in July to both our board and to the Board of Aldermen. And I remember asking, I don't think we had done this since 2016. And I get that you can't pound your fist on the table and you're through all these meetings, you say, hey, did we ever receive that or not? And as I said, I fully understand, Mr. Mayor, that you're in charge of a whole city. So, it's hard to remember. You kind of get lost in the weeds and thinking, when's the last time we visited that? So I did want to say that I was disappointed that we didn't get the same information. And I don't think it's on the director. I think it was more financial services that we didn't get the information needed. But I'm just thinking in terms of if all of us were to fall off the face of the earth, and we have to remember every single year, we need to take a look. I'm not saying every single year we need to raise the sewer fee rates, but we really need to see how much money we have in reserve, how much money we have for our expensive facilities. And I'm wondering if it makes sense, because obviously none of the commissioners have any, we don't have the authority to amend or write ordinances, but we know every year when the budget's occurring. So I'm wondering if it might make a lot of sense to I don't know if you can sponsor legislation or get someone from the Board of Aldermen to sponsor legislation. We just visit this issue at the same time we do the budget, because then when you get sick of being in office and you're not in office, your predecessor doesn't have to scratch his or her head to see, hey, when are we supposed to take a look at this? Or if all of us, they're all new people on the Board of Public Works, or if the director decided, she took another job. I'm just trying to think of a vehicle in which to always make sure that every single year that we take a good look at this. I'm just thinking we know when the budget occurs, so I'm just wondering if it might make sense to amend that legislation to make that happen at the same time, because it's a busy time for financial services anyway, and you kind of kill two birds with one stone. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on it. Thank you.
I think we could do it in concert with the budget. As you know, we look and pass the operating budget for the wastewater treatment plant along with the city budget, every year.
Yeah.
So at that point, we could provide a report regarding assets and where the fund stands and all that. Now, we may have done that with the aldermen from time to time at budget time, but maybe not with the Board of Public Works. But I think you're right that it would be best to do that on an annual basis.
Thank you so much.
So next budget season, we will, as part of the presentation on the next budget season, which is coming up pretty soon, we will report for the first, again, on the funds, the wastewater fund and its status. While I'm mentioning the budget, I'm going to propose the budget later this year than I have in the past because there are some state issues which are going to put a lot of pressure on the city budget. They've been proposed to increase the pension cost by $4.4 million and reduce school aid by 7.4. A $11 million hit to the taxpayers of Nashua. So I'm probably going to wait till early May to propose the budget because we're trying to work with the legislature to see if we can get some relief on these things. So the budget will be coming, we will be, of course, coming to you with the public works budget, but it may be a little later than in the last few years.
Okay. Can I ask one question not related to public works regarding the budget?
Yeah, of course.
So, and again, this is kind of more for you to put on the back of your mind for when we're doing the budget. So, I know, for example, I'm, one family that does it. That my kids go to Catholic school through 8th grade, and then we sign up to go to the high school. But I don't think you can sign up for the spring. So, I know that we've had decreased enrollment. But I don't know if there's anything that the folks in the state, like Alderman O'Brien can do to say, hey, what happens if everyone starts registering for school in May or April?
Well, there are various bills in the legislature to try to equalize the school aid to last year. I mean, part of the decrease, but I think it's $1.4 million out of the $7.4 million decrease is related to an enrollment decline. But the school department suggests that they think this is temporary in the sense that I think the number, the reduced enrollment is like 800, and they think like 600 and some are in the K and pre-K. So they're thinking that those are just families that rather than, try to do kindergarten or pre-K remote, they just haven't signed up, but that they will bring the kids back when, schools are fully open. So the school department, of course, which is independently run, as you know, by the school board, they think that the enrollment decline may be, of short duration.
Right, but they're also, I don't know if they have previous numbers of, say, there are kids who just go to ASD through 8th grade, and there are kids who just go to private schools through 8th grade. So I'm just wondering when I don't know how much contact or control you have over them. That they may add those to if we look at historical numbers, because those will be other folks that may be added to you, unless you can let them enroll earlier. I don't know. But just a thought. And I don't want to belabor the point. I know that the game starts at 7 and people have stuff to do. I just wanted to plant that seed.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, excuse me, Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you. I think the governor is looking at this. Part of the issue too is the COVID. I hate to blame that old virus for all the issues, but it does lead into a lot. Some of the computations of the numbers is affected by the COVID. And I think what it is, the mathematical, like you say, Commissioner Pappas, some of the historical numbers that they have used in the past aren't really that germane right now with the COVID experience. So the problem has been identified. I agree with the mayor. There are several bills pending. Fortunately, we do have a governor that seems to be aware of the issue, so hopefully that'll come to a quick resolve, because education is very important to just not Nashua, but all communities in the state. So hopefully it'll come to a quicker solution. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners? If not, Commissioner, we have a non-public session, I'm sorry, regarding one item. Is there a motion to go into non-public session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3 subsection 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Could we, please have a roll call?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes,
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Motion passes. So we will go into non-public session. Could Jeff or whoever is running this, please? 1 minute before the Shoneman.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you very much. Just made it under the wire. Commissioner Moriarty.
I thought we missed on the personnel A. I don't remember doing that, but that's maybe not.
I think we unsealed the minutes. I think we moved on that. I think we did that.
Meeting, December 17th, okay.
All right.
I'm not sure that we did.
Well, we'll check the tape.
Okay.
We got to get this 7 o'clock deadline. So we will check the tape.
Okay,
And if we didn't do it, we will.
We did not,
can-
there was not, I did not have that motion. I did have the minutes though, unfortunately.
So you think are you saying we did or did not move to unseal the minutes from December 17th?
We did not move to do that. I only had the motion for the, unless I failed to print it correctly. I just had the motion for the
I think
increase.
we
in
did
the-
it. I think we did it because it was on the agenda.
that's fine.
All right, let's check. We'll check. And if it wasn't there, if we didn't do it, we'll put it on the next agenda.
Fair enough.
So Commissioner Moriarty, is there a motion to adjourn?
But yes, I move to adjourn.
Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
The meeting is adjourned and I hope everybody has a good evening.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
month, people.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.